Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation. And here he is, Michael Savage. You're listening to an encore segment of The Savage Nation.
Happy Black Friday, everyone. This is Michael Savage. Today, while you're rushing around shopping, buying gifts for family, I want to play some stories about family and some of the other great stories from The Savage Nation. I want to start with a story from my new book, Train Tracks, which I hope you'll open in a bookstore today because it makes perfect reading for the holidays and a perfect gift for all ages. And I think I'm going to pick out of nowhere about a Hegira from New York, chapter 12. It's one page long in Train Tracks about my first bus ride to Miami when I was a youngster, when I went to Miami for a vacation. I'll start it from Train Tracks. And by the way, listen to me. The book is in the bookstores. I don't sell books on this show. It's in every bookstore in America. Why don't you go out and vote by buying my book? I'll be naked and tell you that. Do you think you should stop buying conservative books and stop listening to conservative radio and suddenly become a socialist because Romney, the non-conservative, lost? The very opposite is true. Only by asserting your conservatism will we ever get a conservative to run. Now, the Republican Party doesn't know this. They're gonna draw the exact wrong conclusion again. Okay? My first Hegira from New York was a bus ride to Miami. The dining highlights, I recall, were the chicken bones in a greasy bag thrown under the seat by an old lady going to her retirement, and chicken again, this time the southern fried variety, at a bus rest stop in the middle of an Atlanta winter night. I'd always loved fried chicken as a boy, and this was really going to be a treat. To gorge on greasy chicken thighs and breasts in the heart of Dixie, where I had heard they had first perfected the recipe. The only factor limiting my enthusiasm was the time I was asleep like Ratso Rizzo, Dustin Hoffman's grizzled drifter in Midnight Cowboy, on his death ride, sweaty and in a fit of sorts, when the jouncing Greyhound abruptly stopped. The lights were flashed on. "Rest stop, everybody out," shouted the bus driver. And he came down the aisle, prodding each and every one of us, even the old chicken bone lady, reminding me of the cartoon cop of the past. Maybe he got a kickback from the rest stop owner. I don't know. But everyone on that bus was hounded into that eatery in the middle of the night. The doors to our bus locked. There was no escaping it. I would have southern fried chicken, even though I was slightly nauseous, beneath that 3 a.m. Georgia night sky with stars as sharp as fractured mollusks in a barrel. It was okay, that's all. Too crusty, too greasy. Of course, today I know it was probably cooked in lard, and that the saturated fat would account for my early death had I kept on with my dietary ignorance. But the slight case of indigestion I nursed all the way to Jacksonville gave me that slight something to think about, which oh so softly pushed me into the arms of Morpheus. That's a tiny little story in Train Tracks. In going through photographs for the book Train Tracks, I found pictures of many of the men that I write about. The gambler, the leather man, the uncle who was a Democratic Party operative. What strikes me is that they were all very ordinary-looking men. You would never pick them out of a crowd and think that they were anything special. And that's just the point of this book, which is that in the ordinary, there is the extraordinary. Now, whether it is that men were more dynamic in those days or that I saw the dynamism in their lives is for anyone to guess. I don't know. Are men still like that? There is a movie called The Naked City where it is said, quote, "There are 8 million stories of the naked city. This has been one of them." I was fascinated by that as a young boy because it showed me that every individual person walking the streets had a story, if only you could find that story. And all of my life, I found this to be true. That of course every human in their destiny, in their journey through life, is actually weaving a story. It's just that most of us don't even realize we are unique or weaving a story. Or is it that the times have made so many of us homogenous? Have we become just one massive group of individuals in a sort of socialist hive? Well, whatever the case may be, Train Tracks contains the stories of ordinary men and women, each of whom was extraordinary. Now, I haven't read that since I wrote it, and I got to tell you, I want to read the book. The book rings true, and I almost hit the mark here in what I was trying to do. And as Hemingway said, if it rings, there's a certain ring to the truth that everyone recognizes when they hear it, and there's no way to describe it. That's what I want to say.